My name is Mark Reynolds, and I used to think betrayal came with warning signs, like a rattlesnake's tail or a tornado siren. Turns out, it arrives wearing your wife's perfume and your best friend's smile, shaking hands at your own dinner table while planning your destruction. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday evening in October. Rachel was setting the table for our weekly dinner with David Warren, her boss, and his wife, Becky. Our kids, Sophie and Eli, were upstairs doing homework. The suburban Chicago evening felt perfect. Golden leaves scattered across our manicured lawn, the smell of Rachel's famous lasagna filling our kitchen. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Mark, could you grab the wine from the basement?" Rachel called, her voice carrying that forced cheerfulness I'd started noticing lately. "Sure thing, honey." I headed downstairs, but halfway down I heard Rachel's phone buzz. Then David's voice, low and intimate. "You look incredible tonight. That dress is driving me crazy." "David, stop. Mark will hear you." Rachel's voice was different, breathless, flirtatious. Nothing like the tired monotone she used with me anymore. "I can't help it. After last weekend at the conference, I can't stop thinking about you." My hand froze on the wine bottle. "Conference?" Rachel had told me she went alone to that marketing seminar in Milwaukee. "That hotel room was perfect," David continued. "When can we do it again?" I stood there in my own basement, holding a bottle of wine I'd bought to celebrate my wife's promotion, listening to her plan her next betrayal with her boss. The same boss who'd been coming to our house for 2 years, eating our food, joking with our kids, shaking my hand like we were friends. I grabbed the wine and climbed back upstairs, my mind racing. Rachel and David were standing apart now, but I caught the way his fingers brushed hers when he handed her a serving spoon. The way she smiled at him. The same smile she used to give me. "Everything okay, Mark?" Becky Warren asked. She was a sharp woman, always perfectly dressed with eyes that missed nothing. "You look pale." "Just thinking about work," I lied, opening the wine with steady hands. 20 years in financial consulting had taught me to keep my poker face intact, even when the cards were stacked against me. Dinner proceeded normally on the surface. David talked about the firm's expansion plans. Rachel laughed at his jokes, laughed harder than they deserved. Our 14-year-old Sophie made sarcastic comments about her algebra teacher. 11-year-old Eli showed David his latest computer programming project. But underneath the normalcy, I was watching. Really watching. The way Rachel touched David's arm when she reached for the salt. How David's eyes lingered on her neckline. The coded glances they exchanged when they thought no one was looking. "So, Mark," David said, cutting into his lasagna, "Rachel tells me you're thinking about expanding your client base." "Did she?" I looked at my wife. We'd never discussed expanding anything. "What exactly did I tell you, Rachel?" A flush crept up her neck. "I just mentioned you've been working late more often. I assumed—" "You know what they say about assumptions," I interrupted, keeping my tone light. "They make an ass out of you and me." David laughed too loudly. Becky studied her wine glass. Rachel's flush deepened. After they left, Rachel was unusually quiet while we cleaned up. She kept checking her phone, smiling at messages she didn't share. "Good dinner," I said, loading the dishwasher. She was typing rapidly, her thumbs flying across the screen. "Rachel." "What?" She looked up, annoyed at the interruption. "Who are you texting?" "Just Vanessa from work. Girl stuff." She slipped the phone into her pocket. "I'm tired. Going to bed." She kissed my cheek, a quick, obligatory peck, and headed upstairs. I finished cleaning alone, my mind churning. Vanessa. Rachel's work friend who supposedly knew everything about everyone at the marketing firm. If Rachel was texting anyone about girl stuff at 10 p.m., it wasn't Vanessa. I waited until I heard the shower running upstairs, then picked up Rachel's iPad from the kitchen counter. She'd left it logged into her email account, something she'd never done before. Either she was getting careless or she wanted me to find something. The email thread with David went back months. Professional at first, then gradually more personal. Complaints about their respective spouses, jokes about office politics. Then, 3 weeks ago, everything changed. "Can't stop thinking about you since the office party. That kiss in the supply closet was incredible. I know we shouldn't, but I can't help how I feel. My marriage has been over for years. Mark doesn't even see me anymore." That last line hit like a punch to the gut. I scrolled through more messages, each one a knife twist. Plans for secret meetings, hotel reservations, detailed descriptions of what they wanted to do to each other. The shower was still running. I forwarded the most damning emails to my personal account, then deleted them from her sent folder. If Rachel wanted to play games, she'd learn that I'd been managing other people's financial secrets for 2 decades. I knew how to hide things and how to find them. Over the next week, I watched Rachel more carefully. She started working late 3 nights a week. She bought new lingerie, lacy, expensive stuff that never made an appearance in our bedroom. She joined a gym and suddenly cared about her appearance again, spending an hour each morning on hair and makeup. "You look great," I told her one morning as she checked herself in the hallway mirror. "Thanks." She didn't look at me. "I have an important presentation today." "For David?" Her hand stilled on her lipstick. "For the whole executive team." "Of course." She finally met my eyes in the mirror. For a second, I thought I saw guilt there. Then she smiled, that fake, bright smile she'd perfected. "I always do." After she left, I called my best friend Tom Mitchell. We'd known each other since college, and he'd spent 15 years as a Chicago cop before retiring early. If anyone could help me figure out my next move, it was Tom. "You sound like hell," he said when he picked up. "Feel like it too. Can you meet me for coffee? I need advice." "The kind of advice that requires privacy." "That kind." We met at a diner on the south side, away from our usual haunts. Tom took one look at my face and ordered us both double shots of whiskey with our coffee. "Let me guess," he said. "Rachel's cheating." I shouldn't have been surprised. Tom had always been able to read people. It's what made him a good cop. "Her boss, David Warren, the guy who's been eating dinner at our house twice a month for 2 years. Tom's jaw tightened. "That son of a bitch. What do you want to do about it?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to confront them both. Part of me wants to pretend I never found out. And the other part?" I met his eyes. "Wants to destroy them both." Tom nodded slowly. "The question is, how far are you willing to go?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." I showed Tom the message. He shook his head. She's not even trying to be subtle anymore. That means one of 2 things. Either she wants to get caught, or she's planning to leave you anyway. "What would you do?" Tom leaned back in his booth, studying me. "The cop in me says gather evidence, protect your assets, and file for divorce. But the friend in me says make them pay for what they've done to you and those kids." That night, Rachel came home at midnight with her hair messed up and her lipstick gone. She slipped into bed beside me, thinking I was asleep. "How was work?" I asked quietly. She jumped. "I thought you were sleeping." "Couldn't sleep. How was the late meeting?" "Fine, just boring budget stuff." She rolled away from me. "I'm exhausted." "I bet you are." She went still. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, honey. Sweet dreams." But I wasn't planning on sweet dreams for anyone. As Rachel's breathing evened out beside me, I was planning something else entirely. The game was about to begin. The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of confronting Rachel or wallowing in self-pity, I was going to play the long game. If my wife and her boss wanted to destroy our family, they were going to pay a price that would make them regret ever meeting each other. I called in sick to work, something I hadn't done in 3 years, and drove to Tom's house. He lived alone in a neat ranch-style home on the west side, the kind of place where retired cops go to drink beer and forget about the things they've seen. "You look determined," he said, opening the door before I could knock. "That's either really good or really bad." "Depends on your perspective. I need help, Tom, the kind of help that requires your particular skill set." He poured us both coffee and sat across from me at his kitchen table. "I'm listening. I want evidence, photos, documents, everything. I want to know every detail of what they've been doing, and I want it documented in a way that will hold up in divorce court." "That's the legal route. Smart." He paused. "But something tells me you're not stopping there. You know me too well. I want to destroy them, Tom. Not just beat them in court. I want to ruin them completely. Their careers, their reputations, everything." Tom was quiet for a long moment. "You sure about this? Once you start down this road, there's no going back. You'll become someone different, someone harder. They already made me someone different when they decided to betray me in my own home, in front of my children. I'm just accepting it." He nodded slowly. "All right. But we do this smart. No illegal surveillance, no breaking and entering. Everything by the book, or close enough that it won't come back to bite us." "Agreed. I know a private investigator. Sarah Chen used to work white-collar crime before she went private. She's expensive, but she's thorough and she's discreet." "Money's not an issue. I've been managing our finances for 15 years. Rachel has no idea what we actually have in assets." Tom raised an eyebrow. "How much are we talking about?" Enough to make this divorce very expensive for her if she's not careful, and enough to fund whatever we need to do to make them pay. We spent the next hour planning. Tom would contact Sarah Chen and set up the surveillance. I would continue playing the oblivious husband while documenting everything I could find. We'd gather evidence for at least a month before making any moves. "One more thing," Tom said as I was leaving. "What about the kids? Sophie and Eli don't deserve to get caught in the crossfire. They won't. Whatever happens, I'm going to protect them. They're the only innocent people in this whole mess." That afternoon, I picked up the kids from school, something Rachel usually did, but she was working late again. Sophie climbed into the front seat of my BMW, her backpack heavy with textbooks. "Where's Mom?" she asked. "Working. Seems like she's been doing a lot of that lately." Sophie was quiet for a moment. At 14, she was old enough to sense when something was wrong, but too young to understand what it might be. "Dad, are you and Mom okay?" The question hit me harder than I expected. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She had Rachel's dark hair but my green eyes, and right now those eyes looked worried. "Why do you ask, sweetheart? You guys don't talk to each other anymore, and Mom's always on her phone, even during dinner. Adults go through rough patches sometimes. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with our family." But even as I said it, I knew I was lying. Our family was already broken. I was just the only one who knew it yet. Eli was waiting for us in the pickup line, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder. At 11, he was quieter than his sister, but just as observant. As we drove home, he looked up from his handheld game. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Is Mr. Warren going to be our new dad?" I nearly drove off the road. "What? Why would you ask that?" "I heard him and Mom talking last week when they thought I was upstairs. He said something about when we're together all the time, and Mom laughed and said, 'Soon.' My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Mr. Warren is Mom's boss, buddy. That's all." "Okay." He went back to his game, but I could see him watching me in the rearview mirror. That evening, Rachel came home at 7 with takeout Chinese food and a guilty expression. "Sorry I'm late. Crazy day at the office?" She kissed my cheek, and I caught a whiff of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "No problem. How's David handling the workload?" She froze in the middle of unpacking lo mein. "David? Your boss, the one who's been keeping you so busy lately." "Oh, right. He's fine. Very hands-on with the new projects." I bet he is, I thought, but kept my expression neutral. Good thing you two work so well together. "Yes, very well." She wouldn't meet my eyes. During dinner, I watched Rachel check her phone 6 times. Each time she'd smile slightly and type a quick response. The kids noticed too. Sophie rolled her eyes when Rachel missed a question about her history test because she was texting. "Mom, I asked if you could help me study for my exam tomorrow." "What? Oh, sorry, honey. I was just work stuff. Of course I'll help you." But she didn't put the phone down. After the kids went to bed, I made my move. "Rachel, we need to talk." She looked up from her laptop, where she'd been working for the past hour, though I'd noticed she was actually on Facebook, looking at David's profile. "About what?" "About us. We barely talk anymore. You're always working or on your phone. When's the last time we had a real conversation?" She closed the laptop. "I've been busy, Mark. This promotion is important to me." "More important than our marriage." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? When's the last time we went out together? Just the two of us?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Things have been complicated." "Complicated how?" "I don't know. We want different things now." "What do you want, Rachel?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilt or sadness, but relief. Like she was glad I'd finally asked the question she'd been waiting for. "I want to feel alive again. I want to feel like I matter to someone." "You matter to me. You matter to Sophie and Eli." "Do I? When's the last time you really looked at me, Mark? Not just glanced up from your computer or your phone, but really saw me?" The accusation stung because there was truth in it. We had grown apart over the years, settled into routines and responsibilities. But that didn't justify what she was doing. "So you're having an affair?" It wasn't a question, and she didn't deny it. "How long have you known?" "Long enough." I leaned forward. "The question is, what are we going to do about it?" "I want a divorce." There it was. The words I'd been expecting but still weren't prepared to hear. "And David? What does he want?" "He's going to leave Becky. We're going to be together." I almost laughed. Rachel, you can't possibly be that naive. David Warren has been married to Becky for 18 years. She comes from money. Old Chicago money. You think he's going to give up half his assets and his social connections for his employee? You don't know him like I do. I know men like him. I've been managing their finances for 20 years. They don't leave their wives for their secretaries. I'm not his secretary. You're his subordinate, and when this blows up, and it will blow up, you'll be the one who loses everything. He'll go back to Becky with his tail between his legs, and you'll be unemployed and divorced. Rachel stood up, her face flushed with anger. You're wrong. David loves me. David loves the thrill of sneaking around. He loves having a younger woman worship him. But love you? Enough to sacrifice his career and his marriage? We'll see. She stormed out of the room, and I heard her on the phone upstairs, her voice low and urgent. Probably calling David to tell him about our conversation. Good. Let them panic. Panicked people make mistakes, and I was counting on them to make plenty. The next morning, Sarah Chen called. Tom had given her my number, and she wanted to meet to discuss the surveillance operation. I can have preliminary results within a week, she said when we met at a downtown coffee shop. She was a small, efficient woman with sharp eyes and an all-business demeanor. Photos, locations, timeline of their activities. What's your budget? Whatever it takes. I want everything documented. And what's your end goal? Just divorce proceedings, or something more comprehensive? I thought about Rachel's words the night before, about feeling alive and mattering to someone, about David's hands on my wife, his lies to my children, his smirks across my dinner table. Something more comprehensive? Sarah nodded. I understand. Give me 2 weeks, and I'll have enough evidence to destroy them both professionally and personally. Perfect. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Working late again tonight. David's taking the team out for drinks to celebrate the Morrison account. I texted back, have fun. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. But I wasn't planning on having fun. I was planning on war. 2 weeks later, Sarah Chen delivered a manila envelope that contained enough evidence to end 2 marriages and 2 careers. I sat in my home office, spreading photographs across my desk like a poker player revealing a winning hand. There was Rachel and David entering the Palmer House Hotel at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Rachel and David kissing in the parking lot of an upscale restaurant in Schaumburg. David's hand on Rachel's thigh in his Mercedes. Rachel leaving David's downtown condo at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning, wearing the same clothes she'd worn to book club the night before. The timestamps and locations painted a clear picture of a relationship that had moved far beyond professional boundaries. Sarah had also included credit card records showing David paying for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and jewelry that had never made its way home to me. This is thorough work, I told Tom when he came over to review the evidence. Sarah doesn't mess around. What's your next move? I leaned back in my chair, studying a particularly damning photo of Rachel and David in what they thought was a private moment outside her office building. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Which is? Me out of the picture, but not the way they're expecting. My plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting them or filing for divorce immediately, I was going to let them think they were winning. I'd play the oblivious husband a little longer, giving them enough rope to hang themselves publicly and professionally. The first phase involved our mutual friends, the couples we'd socialized with for years, who respected me and trusted my judgment. I started dropping subtle hints about Rachel's behavior, never directly accusing her of anything, just expressing concern about how distant she'd become. I'm worried about Rachel, I told Mike and Jennifer Patterson over dinner at their house. The Pattersons had been our closest friends for 8 years, and Jennifer worked in marketing at a competing firm. Worried how? Jennifer asked. She's been working so much lately, staying late, weekend meetings, business trips. I barely see her anymore. Mike nodded sympathetically. The marketing world is brutal these days. Everyone's fighting for position. I know, but it's affecting the kids. Sophie asked me last week if her mom still lives here. Jennifer frowned. That's not like Rachel. She's always been so focused on family. That's what worries me. And her boss, David Warren, he's been very involved in her career development. I let the implication hang in the air. Jennifer's expression shifted slightly. She knew David's reputation in the industry. Mark, you don't think... I don't know what to think anymore. I just want my wife back. Similar conversations happened with 3 other couples over the next week. I never directly accused Rachel of having an affair, but I planted enough seeds of doubt that people started paying attention. In our social circle, reputation mattered, and whispers had a way of becoming accepted truth. The second phase involved David's wife, Becky. I'd always liked her. She was smart, funny, and had no idea her husband was a serial cheater. But she deserved to know the truth, and I needed an ally who had as much to lose as I did. I ran into her accidentally at the grocery store on a Saturday morning. "Mark, how are you?" She seemed genuinely happy to see me. "I'm all right. How are things with you?" "Oh, same old routine. David's been working so much lately, I feel like a single parent sometimes." "Tell me about it. Rachel's been putting in crazy hours, too. They must be working on something big together." Becky's smile faltered slightly. "Together?" "The Morrison account, I think. She mentions David constantly these days. David says this, David thinks that. I'm starting to get jealous of how much time they spend together." I laughed as if I was joking, but Becky wasn't laughing anymore. "How often are they working together?" "Most nights, it seems like, and weekends. Last Thursday, she didn't come home until almost midnight from some client dinner David organized." Becky went very still. "Thursday night?" "Yeah, why?" "David told me he was at a conference in Milwaukee on Thursday. He didn't get home until Friday afternoon." We looked at each other across the produce section, and I saw understanding dawn in her eyes. "Becky, don't say anything else." Her voice was quiet but firm. "Not here." She pulled out her phone and handed it to me. "Put your number in there. We need to talk, but not in public." That evening, Becky called while Rachel was upstairs giving Eli a bath. "I've been thinking about our conversation today," she said without preamble. "And? I want to know the truth, all of it." "Are you sure? Once you know, you can't unknow it." "I'm sure." I told her about the emails, the late nights, the changes in Rachel's behavior. I didn't mention the surveillance photos, not yet. That would be my ace in the hole. Becky was quiet for a long time after I finished. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but cold. "David's done this before. I suspected it, but I never had proof. This time is different, though." "Different how?" "Because this time, he's not just cheating, he's planning to leave me. I found divorce papers in his desk drawer last week. Rough drafts, but detailed. He's been planning this for months." That was news to me. Rachel had said David was going to leave Becky, but I'd assumed it was wishful thinking on her part. "What do you want to do about it?" "I want to destroy him before he can destroy me, and if your wife is helping him, she goes down too." "What did you have in mind?" "David's up for partner at his firm next month. The decision's being made by the senior partners, and they're very old school about family values and professional conduct. If they found out he was having an affair with a subordinate, he'd lose the partnership, and probably his job. The firm can't afford that kind of scandal, especially with a harassment lawsuit waiting to happen." "You think Rachel would sue?" Becky laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I think Rachel has no idea what she's gotten herself into. When this comes out, and it will come out, she'll be the one who takes the blame. David will claim she seduced him, that he was the victim of an aggressive employee. The firm will fire her to protect themselves, and David will get a slap on the wrist." "Unless we control the narrative?" "Exactly. We make sure the evidence shows David as the aggressor, the one who initiated and pursued the relationship. We make sure everyone knows he's been planning to leave his wife and children for his employee." "And how do we do that?" "Leave that to me. I've been married to David for 18 years. I know all his weaknesses, and I know exactly how to manipulate him into making mistakes." After we hung up, I sat in my office staring at the surveillance photos. Rachel and David thought they were so clever, sneaking around behind our backs, planning their new life together. They had no idea they were walking into a trap that would cost them everything. The third phase of my plan involved the kids. Sophie and Eli didn't know about the affair yet, but they weren't stupid. They'd noticed the changes in our family dynamic, and I needed to make sure they understood that whatever happened next wasn't their fault. "Dad, can I ask you something?" Sophie said the next morning as I was making her breakfast. "Always." "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I stopped scrambling eggs and looked at her. She was trying to appear casual, but I could see the worry in her eyes. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you guys don't act like you like each other anymore. And Mom's never here, and when she is here, she's always on her phone or her computer. Your mom and I are going through some difficulties right now, but whatever happens between us, it has nothing to do with you and Eli. We both love you more than anything in the world." "But you might get divorced?" "I don't know yet, sweetheart. I hope not, but I honestly don't know." Sophie nodded, trying to look mature about it. "My friend Jessica's parents got divorced last year. She said the worst part was not knowing what was going to happen." "Well, I promise you this. Whatever happens, you and Eli will be taken care of. You'll have a home, and you'll have both your parents in your lives." "Even if you hate each other?" "Your mom and I don't hate each other. We want different things right now." That afternoon, Rachel came home early, a rare occurrence. She seemed nervous, checking her phone constantly and jumping at every sound. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine, just tired." But she wasn't fine. Over dinner, she barely ate, and she kept glancing at me like she was expecting me to say something. "David's been asking about you," she said suddenly. "Oh? What about me?" "He wants to know if you suspect anything, about us working so closely together." I put down my fork and looked at her. "Should I suspect something?" "No, He's worried you might get the wrong idea about our professional relationship." "What kind of wrong idea?" Rachel's face flushed. "You know, that there's something inappropriate going on." "Is there?" The question hung in the air between us. Rachel opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. Finally, she shook her head. "Of course not. Don't be ridiculous." But her denial came too late and sounded too forced. Even the kids noticed. Eli looked confused, and Sophie was watching both of us with sharp, knowing eyes. That night, after everyone was asleep, I called Tom. "It's time for Phase 4, I told him. "Which is?" "The confrontation, but not the one they're expecting." "What do you need from me?" "Tomorrow night, Rachel's supposed to be working late again. I want you to follow her, get photos of wherever she goes and whoever she's with. Make sure the timestamps are clear." "You got it. Anything else?" "Yeah. Call Mike Patterson and tell him you're concerned about me. Tell him I've been asking questions about divorce lawyers and private investigators. Make sure he knows I'm planning something, but don't tell him what." "You want word to get back to Rachel?" "I want word to get back to David. Let them think I'm on to them, but let them think I'm planning to handle it quietly. That'll make them careless." "And then?" "Then we spring the trap." The next evening, Rachel left for her late meeting at 6 o'clock, dressed in a new black dress I'd never seen before. She kissed my cheek goodbye, a quick, guilty peck that felt like a betrayal in itself. "Don't wait up," she said. "I won't." But I would be waiting, just not the way she expected. At 8 o'clock, Tom called with an update. "They're at the Marriott downtown. Same hotel they've been using for the past month. Room 1247. "Perfect. How long have they been there?" "About an hour." "Good. That gives us time." "Time for what?" "To end this thing once and for all." I hung up and looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The man staring back at me looked older than he had 2 months ago, harder around the eyes. But he also looked determined. Rachel and David wanted to destroy our family for their own selfish desires. They wanted to hurt our children, betray our friends, and throw away everything we'd built together. Tomorrow, they were going to learn that actions have consequences, and some consequences last forever. The next morning, I woke up before dawn with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. Today was the day everything changed. Rachel was still asleep beside me, her hair spread across the pillow, looking peaceful and innocent. If I didn't know better, I might have felt sorry for her. She stirred as I got out of bed, opening her eyes just enough to see me getting dressed. "Where are you going so early?" she mumbled. "Couldn't sleep. Going for a drive." Okay." She rolled over and went back to sleep. I drove to Tom's house, where he was waiting with fresh coffee and the photos from the night before. The images were crystal clear. Rachel and David entering the hotel together, David's hand on her lower back as they walked through the lobby, both of them looking relaxed and happy. "These are perfect," I told him. "What's the plan for today?" "I'm going to have separate conversations with both of them. David first, then Rachel. I want them to know that I know, but I also want them to think they still have some control over the situation. And then? Then we see how far they're willing to go to protect their secret." At 9 a.m., I called David's office. His assistant, Kurt, answered on the second ring. "David Warren's office. This is Kurt." "Hi, Kurt. This is Mark Reynolds. Is David available for lunch today? I'd like to discuss something with him." There was a pause. "Let me check his schedule. Can I tell him what this is regarding?" "Tell him it's about Rachel." Another pause, longer this time. "Hold, please." Kurt came back on the line a minute later. "Mr. Warren can meet you at the Union Club at noon. Will that work?" "Perfect." The Union Club was David's favorite lunch spot, an old money establishment where Chicago's business elite went to make deals and show off their connections. It was also public enough that David would feel safe, but private enough for the kind of conversation we needed to have. I arrived 5 minutes early and was shown to a corner table where I could see the entire dining room. David walked in at exactly noon, looking confident and relaxed in his expensive suit. He spotted me immediately and walked over with his hand extended. "Mark, good to see you. How's business?" "Booming. Thanks for meeting me on short notice." We ordered drinks, scotch for both of us, and made small talk about the weather and the Bears' chances this season. David seemed genuinely at ease. which told me he had no idea why I'd asked him to lunch. "So," he said after our food arrived, "Kurt mentioned you wanted to discuss Rachel?" "That's right." I took a sip of my scotch, letting the silence stretch between us. "I'm concerned about her." "Concerned how?" "She's been working a lot of late nights lately, coming home exhausted, distracted. I'm worried she might be taking on too much." David's expression didn't change, but I caught a slight tightening around his eyes. "Rachel's a very dedicated employee. She's been instrumental in several major accounts. I'm sure she has. The Morrison account in particular, among others, must require a lot of hands-on management." Now David's smile became forced. "I'm not sure I follow." I leaned forward, keeping my voice conversational. "David, we've known each other for 2 years. Our families have shared meals, our kids have played together. I think we can speak frankly." "Of course. Are you sleeping with my wife?" The question hit him like a physical blow. His scotch glass stopped halfway to his lips, and for a moment, his carefully constructed facade cracked completely. "I beg your pardon?" "It's a simple question. Are you having an affair with Rachel?" David set down his glass with deliberate care. "Mark, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Room 1247 at the Marriott downtown. Last night, 8 to 11 p.m. Would you like me to continue?" All the color drained from David's face. He looked around the dining room, probably checking to see if anyone was listening to our conversation. "Keep your voice down," he hissed. "So that's a yes?" David was quiet for a long moment, his mind clearly racing. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "It's not what you think." "Really? What is it then?" "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I nodded thoughtfully. "You know what's not complicated, David. The photos I have of you two. The credit card records showing you paying for hotel rooms. The emails Rachel forwarded to her personal account, thinking she was being clever." David's hands were shaking now. "What do you want?" "What do I want?" I laughed, loud enough that several people at nearby tables looked over. "I want my marriage back. I want my children to have their mother back. I want you to stop destroying my family for your own entertainment." "It's not entertainment, Mark. I love her." "You love her?" I leaned back in my chair. "Enough to leave Becky? Enough to give up half your assets in a divorce? Enough to risk your partnership at the firm when this comes out?" "How did you know about the partnership?" "Lucky guess. But your reaction just confirmed it." I signaled the waiter for another round. "Here's what's going to happen, David. You're going to end this affair immediately. You're going to transfer Rachel to a different department, or better yet, help her find a job at another firm. And you're going to pray that I don't decide to share what I know with your partners." "You can't prove anything." I pulled out my phone and showed him one of Sarah's photos, him and Rachel kissing in the parking lot of the restaurant in Schaumburg. "Can't I?" David stared at the photo, his face ashen. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to choose, your marriage and your career, or your midlife crisis with my wife, but you can't have both. And if I choose Rachel, then I destroy you. I send these photos to your partners, to your clients, to everyone in your social circle. I make sure Becky gets the best divorce attorney in Chicago and takes you for everything you're worth. I ruin your reputation so thoroughly that you'll be lucky to get a job selling insurance in Des Moines." David was quiet for a long time, staring into his scotch. When he looked up, his eyes were cold. "You're making a mistake, Mark." "Am I?" "Rachel doesn't love you anymore. She hasn't for years. Even if I end things with her, she's still going to leave you." "Maybe, but at least she'll leave me for someone who isn't a lying, cheating piece of shit who betrayed my hospitality and my friendship." I stood up and threw 2 20s on the table. "You'll have until tomorrow night to make your choice. After that, I start making choices for you." I walked out of the Union Club feeling better than I had in weeks. David Warren thought he was untouchable, protected by his wealth and his connections. He was about to learn that some things matter more than money. That afternoon, I picked up the kids from school and took them for ice cream. Sophie ordered chocolate chip cookie dough, Eli got vanilla with sprinkles, and I had black coffee. "Dad, you seem different today," Sophie observed. "Different how?" "Happier, less worried." "I am less worried." "Because of Mom?" "Because I figured out how to handle the situation with Mom." Eli looked up from his ice cream. "Are you going to fight with her?" "Maybe, but not the kind of fighting you're thinking of. More like a business disagreement." "Will she have to move out?" The question caught me off guard. "Would that bother you?" Eli considered this seriously. "I'd miss her, but she's not really here anyway, you know? She's always working or on her phone. It's like she already moved out, but her stuff is still in the house. Sophie nodded in agreement. At least if she actually moved out, we'd know when we were supposed to see her. Their matter-of-fact acceptance of the situation broke my heart and strengthened my resolve at the same time. Rachel had already abandoned her family emotionally. I was just going to make it official. That evening, Rachel came home at her usual time, 6:30, just late enough to avoid helping with dinner, but early enough to avoid suspicion. She seemed nervous, checking her phone constantly and jumping when it buzzed. "How was your day?" I asked as we sat down to eat. "Fine. Busy. The Morrison account is really heating up." "I'm sure it is." "How's David handling the pressure?" Rachel's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "Fine. Why?" "I had lunch with him today." The fork clattered onto her plate. "You what?" I had lunch with David at the Union Club. Nice place. I can see why you two like to meet there." Rachel's face went through several different expressions: confusion, fear, anger, and finally resignation. "What did you talk about?" "You, mostly, and your professional relationship." "Mark, I can explain." "Can you? Because David seemed to think your relationship was pretty self-explanatory." Rachel looked around the dining room, suddenly aware that the kids were listening to every word. "Can we discuss this later, in private?" "Why? Are you ashamed of something?" "The children don't need to hear this." "Hear what, Rachel? What exactly don't you want them to hear?" Sophie and Eli were watching both of us with wide eyes, sensing the tension but not understanding its source. "Fine," Rachel said, standing up abruptly. "Sophie, Eli, go upstairs and start your homework. Your father and I need to talk." After the kids left, Rachel turned to face me. Her nervous energy had transformed into something harder, more defiant. "How long have you known?" "Long enough." "And what do you plan to do about it?" "That depends on what you plan to do about it." Rachel crossed her arms. "I want a divorce, Mark. I'm not happy in this marriage, and I haven't been for years." "Because of David?" "David made me realize what I was missing, but this marriage was over long before I met him." "Was it? Or did you just decide it was over when someone more exciting came along?" "You don't understand. David makes me feel alive again. He sees me as more than just a wife and mother." "He sees you as a convenient piece of ass who's willing to risk everything for his attention?" Rachel's hand flew to her cheek as if I'd slapped her. "How dare you? How dare I what? Tell you the truth? David Warren is a serial cheater, Rachel. You're not his first affair, and you won't be his last. The only difference is, this time he got caught." "You're wrong. David loves me. David loves the idea of you. The forbidden fruit, the younger woman who worships him, but when push comes to shove, he'll choose his career and his social standing over you every time. You don't know him like I do. I know men like him better than you think, and I know what happens to women who trust them." Rachel shook her head. "I'm not going to stand here and listen to you insult the man I love." "The man you love? What about the children you're abandoning? What about the marriage you're destroying?" "This marriage was already destroyed. We're like roommates, Mark. We go through the motions, but there's nothing left between us." "There could be, if you were willing to work on it." "I don't want to work on it. I want out." "Fine, then you can have out. But you're not taking the kids, and you're not taking half of everything I've worked for." Rachel's defiance wavered. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I have evidence of your affair. Photos, emails, credit card records, hotel receipts. In Illinois, adultery affects property division and custody arrangements." "You've been spying on me?" "I've been protecting my interests, and my children's interests." Rachel sank into a chair, the reality of her situation finally sinking in. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to end the affair. I want you to find another job. I want you to go to marriage counseling with me and try to rebuild what we had. And if I refuse, then I file for divorce and make sure everyone knows exactly why our marriage ended. Your boss, your coworkers, your friends, your family, everyone." Rachel was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with tears. "I can't end it, Mark. I love him too much." "Then you've made your choice." I stood up and walked toward the stairs, then turned back to her. "You have until tomorrow night to decide if you want to try to save this marriage. After that, I start the divorce proceedings." "And the children?" "The children will be fine. They'll have one parent who puts them first." I left Rachel sitting alone at the dining room table and went upstairs to tuck in the kids. Whatever happened next, I was going to make sure Sophie and Eli knew they were loved and protected. The war was just beginning. The next morning, Rachel was gone when I woke up. Her side of the bed was cold, and her overnight bag was missing from the closet. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Gone to think. Will call tonight. R." I made breakfast for the kids, trying to act normal despite the fact that their mother had essentially moved out overnight. "Where's Mom?" Sophie asked, looking around the kitchen as if Rachel might materialize from behind the refrigerator. She had to leave early for a business trip. "Without saying goodbye?" Eli looked confused. "She always says goodbye." "She didn't want to wake you guys up." Sophie wasn't buying it. At 14, she was old enough to recognize when adults were lying to protect her feelings. "Dad, what's really going on?" I sat down across from them at the kitchen table. "Your mom and I are having some problems. She's staying somewhere else for a few days while we figure things out." "Are you getting divorced?" Eli asked quietly. "I don't know yet, buddy. Maybe." Sophie reached over and squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens, we're on your side." "You don't have to choose sides, sweetheart. This isn't your fault, and it's not your responsibility to fix it." "But we can still be on your side," Eli said with 11-year-old logic. After I dropped them off at school, I called Tom. "Rachel's gone," I told him. "Gone where?" "I'm guessing David's condo downtown. She left a note saying she'd call tonight." "So she's made her choice." "Looks like it, which means it's time for Phase 5. I'm almost afraid to ask what Phase 5 involves. Total warfare. No more subtle hints or careful maneuvering. I'm going to destroy both of them, publicly and completely." "What do you need from me?" "I need you to call Sarah Chen and tell her to compile everything she has into a comprehensive report. Photos, timelines, financial records, everything. I want it professionally bound and documented." "How many copies?" 50. I'm going to make sure everyone who matters gets a copy." "Jesus, Mark, you're really going nuclear." "They chose nuclear when they decided to destroy my family. I'm just returning the favor." That afternoon, I drove to David's office building. I didn't go up to see him. I just wanted to confirm that Rachel's car was in the parking garage. It was, parked in a visitor's spot on the executive level. My phone rang as I was driving home. Rachel's number. "Hello, Rachel." "Mark, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not on the phone. Can you meet me somewhere?" "Where?" "The Starbucks on Main Street. In an hour." "Fine." The Starbucks was busy with the afternoon crowd, which meant our conversation would have to be relatively civilized. Rachel was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a large coffee and red-rimmed eyes. "You look tired," I said, sitting down across from her. "I didn't sleep much last night." "Where did you sleep?" "Does it matter?" "It matters for the divorce proceedings." Rachel flinched. "So you've decided on divorce?" "You decided on divorce when you moved out. I'm just accepting your decision." "Mark, please. Can't we work this out somehow?" "Work what out? You said you love David. You said you want out of our marriage. What's left to work out?" "The children. They need their mother. They need a mother who puts them first. When's the last time you did that?" Rachel's face crumpled. "That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair. Is it fair that Sophie has to explain to her friends why her mother is never at school events anymore? Is it fair that Eli thinks your boss is going to be his new dad?" "He said that?" "He said that. Because even an 11-year-old can see what you've been doing." Rachel was crying now, but I felt no sympathy for her. She'd made her choices. "What do you want from me, Mark?" "I want you to sign divorce papers that give me full custody of the children and the house. You can have your car, your personal belongings, and whatever's left in your 401k after I deduct the money you spent on hotel rooms with David. You can't be serious. Absolutely serious. You committed adultery, Rachel. In Illinois, that affects everything. I'll fight you." "With what money?" "You'll be unemployed as soon as David's partners find out about your relationship. And they will find out, because I'm going to tell them." Rachel went very still. "You wouldn't. Watch me." I pulled out my phone and showed her Sarah's report, 50 pages of documented evidence, bound in a professional portfolio. "This goes to David's partners tomorrow morning. It also goes to HR at your company, to our friends, to your family, and to anyone else who might be interested in knowing the truth about your character. You're trying to destroy my life. I'm trying to protect my children's lives. You destroyed your own life the moment you decided David Warren was more important than your family." Rachel stared at the report, her face pale. "What if I end it with David? What if I come home and we try counseling?" "Too late for that." "Why?" "Because I don't trust you anymore. Because I don't love you anymore. Because every time I look at you, I see someone who was willing to throw away everything we built together for a few hours in a hotel room with your boss." Rachel stood up abruptly. "Fine. If that's how you want to play this, then that's how we'll play it. But don't expect me to make this easy for you." "I wouldn't dream of it." She walked out of the Starbucks without looking back. I sat there for a few more minutes, drinking my coffee and watching the normal people go about their normal lives. Tomorrow, nothing would be normal for any of us. That evening, I called Becky Warren. "It's time," I told her. "Time for what?" "To end this. Rachel's moved in with David, at least temporarily. They think they're going to ride this out and start their new life together." "And we're going to let them know how wrong they are?" "Exactly. Are you ready?" "I've been ready for weeks. What's the plan?" "Tomorrow morning, Sarah's report goes to David's partners, your divorce attorney, and everyone else who needs to see it. By noon, both of their careers will be over. And then? Then we see how much they really love each other when they're both unemployed and facing expensive divorce proceedings. Mark? Yeah? Thank you for including me in this. I know you could have handled it alone. Nobody should have to face betrayal alone." After I hung up, I went upstairs to check on the kids. They were both in Sophie's room, doing homework together, something they'd started doing more often since Rachel had become distant. "How was school today?" I asked. "Good," Sophie said without looking up from her math homework. "Mrs. Peterson asked where Mom was at the parent-teacher conference sign-up. What did you tell her?" "That Mom was busy with work. Same thing I always tell people now." The matter-of-fact way she said it broke my heart. "Things are going to be different soon," I told them. "Different how?" Eli asked. "More honest. Less pretending everything is okay when it's not." Sophie looked up at me then. "Dad, are you okay?" "I will be. We all will be." The next morning, I woke up early and drove to Sarah Chen's office to pick up the reports. She'd outdone herself. Each portfolio was professionally bound with tabs and an executive summary that laid out the timeline of Rachel and David's affair in devastating detail. "This is thorough work," I told her. "It's also bulletproof. Everything is documented and verifiable. If they try to deny it, they'll just look more guilty." I spent the morning hand-delivering reports to David's law partners, Rachel's HR department, and several key people in their social and professional circles. By 10 a.m., both of their phones were probably ringing off the hook. At 11, Tom called. "It's working. My contact at David's firm says there's an emergency partners meeting this afternoon. Word is they're discussing a personnel matter of significant concern." "Perfect." Rachel's company called her in for a meeting, too. Apparently, her supervisor got a very interesting package this morning. Even better. At noon, my phone rang. David Warren, probably calling from his car. "You son of a bitch," he said without preamble. "Hello, David. How's your day going?" "You know exactly how my day is going. You've destroyed everything." "I've exposed the truth. There's a difference. The partners want to see me at 2 o'clock. They're going to fire me." "Probably. Adultery with a subordinate is generally frowned upon in professional settings. And Rachel's been suspended pending investigation. That's unfortunate, but predictable. What do you want, Mark? Money? I'll pay you whatever you want to make this go away." "It's too late for that. The truth is already out there." "Then what's the point? You've already won." "The point is consequences, David. You thought you could destroy my family without paying a price. You were wrong." Rachel's devastated. She's been crying for hours. She should have thought about that before she decided to have an affair with a married man. "We love each other." "Love?" I laughed. "Let's see how much you love each other when you're both unemployed and facing expensive divorce proceedings. Love doesn't pay legal bills, David." I hung up and immediately called Becky. "David just called me," I told her. "He called me too, begging me not to file for divorce, promising he'd end it with Rachel and go to counseling." "What did you tell him?" "I told him I'd already filed the papers this morning, and that I was asking for everything, the house, the cars, the boat, his retirement accounts, everything." "How did he take that?" "About as well as you'd expect. He's probably calling his lawyer right now." That afternoon, Rachel called. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Mark, please. You have to help me." "Help you with what?" "They fired me. They said my conduct was inconsistent with company values and terminated me immediately." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. You planned this." "I documented your affair and shared that documentation with relevant parties. What they chose to do with that information was up to them. I can't afford a lawyer now. I can't fight you in court." "Then don't fight me. Sign the divorce papers and move on with your life." "With what life? I don't have a job. I don't have any money. And David—" She stopped herself. "David what?" "Nothing." "David's having second thoughts now that there are real consequences?" Rachel was quiet. "Let me guess. He's not as eager to leave Becky now that she's taking him for everything he's worth. And he's probably blaming you for the whole thing. He's just scared right now. Once things calm down, things aren't going to calm down, Rachel. This is your new reality. David's going to lose his job, his house, and half his assets. You think he's going to want to start over with the woman who cost him everything? You don't understand. What we have is real. What you had was an affair. What you have now is two unemployed adults facing expensive divorces and ruined reputations. I hung up and sat in my office, looking out at the suburban street where we'd raised our children and built what I thought was a happy life. Tomorrow, the kids would come home to a different world, one where their mother lived somewhere else and their father was starting over. But it would be an honest world. And sometimes, honesty is more important than happiness. That evening, Sophie and Eli and I ordered pizza and watched a movie together. We didn't talk about Rachel or David or divorce proceedings. We just sat together on the couch, eating pepperoni pizza and pretending everything was normal. But everything wasn't normal, and it never would be again. And for the first time in months, I was okay with that. The next morning brought the final chapter of my revenge. David's law firm announced that he was pursuing other opportunities, which was corporate speak for fired in disgrace. Rachel's company issued a statement about maintaining the highest standards of professional conduct. By the end of the week, both of their careers were over, their reputations were destroyed, and their relationship was crumbling under the weight of real-world consequences. David ended up moving back in with his parents while he looked for work. Rachel found a studio apartment on the other side of town and a job waiting tables at a chain restaurant. They tried to make their relationship work for a few more weeks, but love doesn't survive unemployment and public humiliation very well. By Christmas, they weren't speaking to each other. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. I got full custody of the kids, the house, and most of our assets. Rachel got visitation rights every other weekend and the car payments. 6 months later, I was sitting in my office when Sophie knocked on the door. "Dad, there's someone here to see you." Rachel was standing in the hallway, looking older and thinner than I remembered. She was wearing a server's uniform and holding a manila envelope. "I signed the final papers," she said, handing me the envelope. "It's over." "How are you doing?" "I'm surviving. Working 2 jobs, but I'm making it." "And David?" "David moved to Phoenix, got a job with a small firm there. We don't talk anymore." "I'm sorry it ended this way, Rachel." She looked at me for a long moment. "No, you're not. You planned every bit of this." "I planned to protect my children and my assets. Everything else was just consequences." "You destroyed us. You destroyed yourselves. I just made sure everyone knew about it." Rachel nodded slowly. "I guess I deserved that." After she left, I sat in my office thinking about revenge and consequences and the price of betrayal. Rachel and David had gotten exactly what they deserved, but that didn't make me feel as satisfied as I'd expected. The truth is, revenge is a cold comfort. It doesn't bring back trust or love or the life you thought you had. It just ensures that the people who hurt you pay an appropriate price for their actions, but sometimes that's enough. Sophie and Eli were happy, healthy, and thriving in their new normal. They saw Rachel every other weekend, but they'd never again have to wonder if their mother cared more about her phone than about them. And I was free to build a new life, one based on honesty instead of pretense, on real relationships instead of convenient lies. David Warren and Rachel Reynolds had thought they could destroy my family without consequences. They'd learned otherwise in the most public and humiliating way possible. Justice had been served, cold and complete.